Hello and welcome to the channel. As always, like the video, and if you enjoyed the story, leave a comment on if you would want more. This fan fiction was not created by me, but in the description there is a link to the fanfic so you can show your support to the creator and read along. Without any more delay, let's dive into the story.
Are you sure you're all right? Ochako asked over the phone. Yes, don't worry about me. I'm nearly completely recovered. More importantly, how is your wrist? Izuku's voice was full of concern. Recovery girl patched up that injury in an instant. Ochako replied, but the fact that she didn't heal your injuries means that they're bad, right? No. I was just really exhausted, so she couldn't heal me at the time. They should be fine after I rest and she heals me again. I'll just be left with a couple scars. Scars. I told you it's fine. Izuku tried to calm his anxious friend. All right. Shoot. I still need to complete math homework. Do you really think they'll care after all that has happened? This is Yui. They would want you to get your homework, and even if you're put in a coma. If you say so. I'll see you tomorrow. Yup. See you tomorrow. I love you, bye-bye. Ochako hung up. I love you. Izuku stared at his phone in shock. He. Talking with your girlfriend, huh? Izuku looked at the curtain next to him. Are you on the other side? Hagakure-san? Sure am. Hagakure's bubbly voice was muffled by the curtain in between them. Are you all right? Yup. Yui really is a great place. If I were injured somewhere else I may have died since no one can patch me up. Recovery girl really is something. That would be troubling. What would happen if you had to go through surgery? Surgery? I would probably die, or they may just go in blind. Oh. That actually would be very bad. Izuku's phone began ringing. It was Ochako again. He dash. Oh my goodness, I didn't mean to say I love you. I say that when I'm getting off the phone with my parents and I didn't mean it. No wait, it's not that I don't love you, no. This is all coming out wrong. I do love you, I do care for you, but I didn't want you to misunderstand what I said earlier dash. Don't worry Ochako, I understand. Izuku quickly said, I did it to Kaken before. He blew his top. Ah. Thank goodness, sorry about that. I'll leave now. Yup, see you tomorrow. I love bye. Ochako cut off the connection once again. So you two are already on a first-name basis? Toru asked innocently. What do you mean? Izuku asked confused. I mean, you called her Ochako. Ah. Izuku redialed her number, Ochako. I mean Uraraka-san. Toru giggled, they're so cute together. Good morning, class. Shoyuta Aizawa said lazily as he inched into the classroom, not wanting to get out of his sleeping bag. Good morning. The class responded. He gave up on moving halfway through the door. So, we're going to be having a sports festival soon in dash. Yeah. A school-like event. Ijiru stood up and yelled. I'm getting pretty excited. What foods do you think they have there? The class broke into a bunch of different conversations, leaving Shoyuta lying on the ground with nothing to do. I guess I'll sleep then. So what are you most excited for? Denki asked Jiru, Ochako, and Izuku. Well, I'm looking forward to intermission. They always have awesome artists play in between the 3 different grades. Jiru twirled her earjack around her finger, her love to music clearly showed. Really? I'm looking forward to the games. What do you guys think? Denki turned to Ochako and Izuku, who were both blushing and avoiding eye contact. They were embarrassed about the night prior, in which they both hung up and redialed each other over 10 times, due to various things they wanted to clarify. Well, I guess I'm excited to see the types of quirks that Class 1B has. Izuku thought about his notebook. Come to think of it, I haven't actually met any of them. Really? I've bumped into one of them during lunchtime. Denki grinned. She was a pretty nice person. I think her name was Kendo. Wow. I never seem to talk to people outside of our class. I want to win. The look of determination on Ochako's face was downright scary. Oh, Ochako? Izuku asked, scared of the look she was giving. First name basis, huh? Denki grinned at Izuku. You two sure are close. He turned to Jairu. What about you and me? Mind if I call you Jur? Denki's question was interrupted by Jairu's earjacks poking him the eyes. Ochako, what's wrong? Jairu asked, concerned for her friend. Wrong. Nothing. I'm just getting pretty pumped for this event. Ochako's usually bright and cheery smile was warped by the determination that took control of her facial muscles. Apparently the determination also took control of her arm and leg muscles because suddenly she began shadowboxing. Come to think of it. Denki recovered from Jairu's attack. You've never told us why you want to be a hero. He grinned mischievously. I'm sure a certain someone would be very curious. He glanced in Izuku's direction. Me? Izuku asked, pointing to himself. Who else? Don't you want to know the secret ambitions that Uraraka keeps locked up deep inside her heart? Oh, I already know. She wants to be a hero so she can earn money and help out her parents. Huh? Denki and Jairu stared at him in shock. You two have already talked about your life goals? Denki grabbed Izuku by his shoulders and began shaking him. No fair. I already know you two are a couple, you don't have to rub it into my face. Ochako did not hear the conversation since she was too busy going around the classroom telling the other students that she was going to do her best. Cool it, idiot. Jirokure chopped Denki on the head, causing him to release Izuku. Thank you, Kyo Dash. But seriously, Izuku, Jairu continued Denki's argument, try to avoid flaunting your relationship. A lot of boys here are the jealous type. Kyuka-san. Izuku was thoroughly depressed. Deku kun. A voice yelled from the other side of the classroom. Izuku turned and saw Ochako by the door. She pointed at him, then at her, then down the hall, grunting with every gesture for emphasis. What? What was that? Mineta yelled after watching the exchange. He moved to Izuku's side so quickly that it seemed like he had a teleporting quirk. Izuku. You were supposed to be the innocent one in a relationship. The one who was so honest and pure that you would break up and I would swoop in and dash. Stop right there. Mina interrupted him. First off, if you go any further, you'll corrupt Izuku's innocent mind. Second, I'm sure there is some legitimate, not perverted, reason for Izuku and Ochako to be going some way dash. Objection. Katsuki stood up and pointed at Mina. His hair was slicked back and he was wearing a blue suit. Ijiru looked at him with unimpressed eyes. Man, you've been playing too many video games. Where did you even get the dash? Shut up, hair for brains. He turned back to Mina. Izuku isn't innocent. He's a hardcore fanboy who spends his free time scouring the deepest depths of the internet for more information on All Might. No one who spends that much time on the internet can be innocent. I'll just excuse myself. Izuku snuck out of the room while the rest of the class debated his level of innocence. Deku-kun. Ochako said happily as he entered the room. Oka. Uraraka-san. Izuku looked around. They were in one of the rooms that Yui had designated to training. Did you need me for something? Yup. I want to be ready for the sports festival, so I want to train. There was a shuffling of feet. Izuku turned and saw that the rest of Class 1A had come to watch. Would you do it with me? Ochako asked about training innocently. Awk. I knew it. Shoo. Mineta was silenced. Sure. I'd love to train with you. Izuku readily agreed, emphasizing on the training part, but Mineta still managed to interpret it in the wrong way. Did you hear that? They're calling it training. Is someone over there? Ochako asked, glancing around Izuku. Nope. No one. We should get started. Wait. Ida stepped into the room with his hands twitching. I may not be the class president, but this is not welcome in a school environment. Did anyone get that reference? Really? Ochako asked, still thinking about quirk training for the sports festival. All right. We'll have to wait till after school. Ida gasped, no. Indecent relationships between students is not welcome in a school environment. He stood in between Izuku and Ochako. Izuku tried to explain, Ida-kun, you've got it WR-. There's nothing indecent about it. We both want be ready. Ochako was getting annoyed, and besides, you shouldn't care about what we do outside of school. Ready? Ready for what? Izuku. Ida rounded on Izuku, who had been trying to interrupt the conversation. You shouldn't be doing these things till after marriage. Wait. Have you already proposed? He spun back around and grabbed Ochako's left hand. There's no ring. Ring? Ochako asked, turning red. Yes. When a man proposes to a woman, he gives her an engagement ring to place upon her left ring finger. It is a symbol of love and dash. WW8. Since WNW are we talking about love? Ochako pulled her hand out of Ida's grasp. What? Ida was furious. You mean there was no love in your relationship? Idakun. Izuku finally snapped from embarrassment. Listen. He pulled Ida over and whispered into his ear. Ida turned back to face Ochako. I apologize, Uraraka-kun. There has been a misunderstanding. Training is very much welcome in a school environment. Now if you will excuse me. Ida left the room. What was that about? Ochako asked. It was just a misunderstanding. Should we get started? Yeah. Let's do this. Ochako began taking off her jacket. Awk. Izuku covered his eyes. What are you doing, Deku-kun? Ochako completely removed her jacket. Underneath she was wearing a black tank top. Let's have a spar. Sure. The alarm went off, marking the start of the match. Ochako leaned forward and dashed towards Izuku with both her hands open. She jumped at him, hoping to get a hold of him with her quirk. Izuku used his quirk on the ground behind her, sliding unearth her. She, being unprepared for the sudden dodge, missed the attack as Izuku delivered a palm strike into her back. Ochako fell to the ground and rolled, stopping just before the line that marked the boundary. She didn't get up. Uraraka-san. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to dash. Ochako took Izuku's nervousness as an opportunity to rise and grab onto him. Shoot. He jumped backwards only to belatedly realize that she had already neutralized his weight. Sorry about this, Deku-kun. She yelled as she hit him as hard as she could in the stomach. Or at least, that was her plan. Since Izuku had jumped away slightly, his body was positioned higher than Ochako had expected it to be, and her punch missed the stomach, hitting an area a bit below it. Izuku paled as he went flying back towards the wall. He fought through the blinding pain and used his quirk to grab onto the ground. Ochako didn't waste a second. She rushed over to him and grabbed his ankle, tossing him towards the boundary. Izuku reacted by activating his quirk again, flying into Ochako and pinning her onto the ground with his hands on either side of her head. Ochako's face turned bright red. Their faces were right next to each other. Ow. Izuku finally recovered from Ochako's attack and realized the situation they were in. Uraraka-san? He asked in a very small voice. I'm sorry. She yelled as she kicked him in the same place her attack landed earlier. Izuku's eyes widened and he blacked out. Izuku woke up later that day, and after a very long session of the two apologizing to each other, they trained for the festival. This is where a normal author would go into detail about their training regime and the struggles they faced during the week preparing for the festival. But this is also the part that sets me aside from normal authors and puts me on a whole new level. A lazy author. Time skip to festival. Are you ready? Ochako asked, tying her hair into a ponytail. You bet. Izuku responded while cracking his knuckles. From the hero course. Class 1A. President Mike began announcing, keep your eyes on these kids, they've already had hands-on experience battling OFF villains. The crowds cheered wildly. I see President Mike is off of his suspension. Denki whispered to Jairu. Jairu gulped, I kinda wish he wasn't. He already turned all of the other classes against us. From the hero course. Class 1B. They may not have had as much spotlight, but look out. These guys are just as passionate about being heroes. Class 1B walked onto the field met by a smaller amount of cheering, and after them we have classes 1C, D, E, F, G, and H. But since they aren't heroes, there's no point in giving them a big intro. How mean! Denki yelled. What's with that discrimination? Nina agreed shocked. And on with the events. President Mike brushed over the unfairness excitedly, announcing the events for the first years. We originally planned to have midnight, but now, we have number 13. Hello everyone. The kind astronaut bowed politely, his back completely healed. What happened to midnight? Mineta asked upset. Apparently the school was sued a while back for showing provocative heroes on daytime TV and they didn't want to take the risk. Toru explained. Izuku perked up, you mean the fire cat incident, right? What's that? Denki asked. It was a beautiful day. Mineta began drooling, the announcer for the second years was the hero fire cat and she got nervous and activated her quirk, burning off the majority of her hero costume. The sensors were too slow. The others around him took 2 steps away from Mineta. How does that even happen? Denki asked Izuku. Things like that always popped up in her career. She always blamed it on her lucky lewd syndrome. And now, would Katsuki Bakugo come up to give the opening speech? Number 13 asked politely. Kaken? Ochako asked Izuku. Why yeah. He got the highest score on the entrance exam. Katsuki tapped the mic 2 times, the feedback echoed throughout the stadium, he cleared his throat, I'm not gonna lose to any of these mobs. Class 1A flinched collectively as the other classes began letting out waves of bloodlust. I'm gonna rise to the top and none of you can beat me. He directed his gaze towards the other students, I'm gonna crush you all. Oh yeah. A brave member of Class 1E yelled at him, easy for you to say while Baneborn with such a great quirk. All of the non-hero classes began booing him, Katsuki gritted his teeth and clutched the mic, his knuckles turning white. I'm gonna say a quote. He said ominously calm, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Make life take the lemons back. Get mad. I don't want your stupid lemons, what the hell am I supposed to do with these? Demand to see life's manager. Make life rue the day it thought it could give Katsuki Bakugo lemons. Do you know who I am? I'm the man who's gonna burn your house down. With the lemons. I'm gonna take these combustible lemons and burn your house down. Katsuki's lemons or quirk unleash a huge explosion leaving a ringing in the ears of the audience. With his anger all vented, Katsuki glared in the direction of Class 1E, I've never accepted one thing from life. I've trained my quirk for years making it my own, the only reason I'm standing here right now is because of my grinding. So don't you ever accuse me of riding on someone else's coattails. Katsuki left the stage, leaving behind a stunned audience. Kurojairi. Tamura said excitedly, I want to be friends with him. He was watching the Yui Sports Festival. It was on the clip of Katsuki walking off of the stage. Who? Kurojiri looked up from the cup he was cleaning. Let's kidnap him. So, today we will first be having an obstacle course in which you students will run around the stadium. Number 13 explained the rules of the first event. Because of Yui's policy about freedom and preparing you for the larger world, anything will go. But don't try to take the lives of other students. If it appears a student is in serious trouble, a teacher will step in and help. Any questions? Yes. Tenya's hand shot up faster than a bullet. What is our time limit? Well, there is no time limit, but there is a limited amount of spaces for the event after this. Number 13 pointed at the screen displaying a map of the stadium. You'll get higher points if you make it to the end faster. Thank you very much. And with the dash. Go! Present Mike yelled. Class 1A burst Eno action, the majority propelling themselves towards the start line with their quirks. With the exception of several students who didn't have quirks that were suited for mobility. Wait, what? The non-hero classes began yelling in confusion. Class 1A was closely followed by 1B. Come on. Run for it. You can do it. Present Mix enthusiasm drowned out number 13's announcing. Sorry about this, you guys. Ida, who was near the front of the group, heard Shuto call out to his class. Why are you apology? Ida's question was answered by Shuto creating a frozen wall, blocking the starting line. The non-hero classes stared in frozen shock at the strength of Shuto's quirk. Darn it, Todoroki! Denki yelled as he pounded the ice wall. How on earth are we supposed to get through this? Denki suddenly felt a chill go down his spine when he heard the sizzling that came before a large blast. Die! Katsuki evaporated a hole into the wall of ice, his explosion so large that it knocked back all of the other students who were running up behind him. Get back here, you half-and-half bastard! He yelled as he started running through the hole he created, clutching the arm that he had used to unleash the explosion. Present Mike was at a lose for words. W. What the heck are you teaching those kids? Several days earlier. Don't ever do that again. Why, yes? Izuku asked, confused. Shoyuta Aizawa held his hair out of his eyes so he could look at Izuku directly. I've heard stories of what you did. You turned off your brain's limiters with adrenaline. Izuku continued looking confused. He hadn't realized what he did. When you fought the Numu Beast, you were in a mental state where the brain thought it must do everything in its power to move. That made it turn off its limiters and gave you inhuman strength. Ah. Now that you mention it. Izuku caught on. I don't remember ever being able to use my quirk that powerfully before. Exactly. Shuta's voice sounded annoyed, but brains have limiters for a reason. Shoyuta raised Izuku's arm and showed him the scars that were layers on top of it. Recovery Girl would have been able to heal you without any scars if it was a simple broken arm, but when you went into your hysterical strength mode, you ripped your muscles to shreds, you powdered your bones, and you nearly bled yourself dry. Izuku was silent, just now realizing the near-death state he was in during the USJ raid. You're lucky to have full use of your arms. If we didn't have Recovery Girl, we would have had to amputate them. I am sorry. Izuku said, his head lowered. I was just trying to dash. Save people like All Might? Shoyuta finished Izuku's sentence. I saw it in your fighting style, you're trying to replicate All Might's. He was spot on. Shoyuta sighed, your build isn't made for All Might's fighting style and punches. You need to design your own fighting style first. Why, yes, sir. Shoyuta picked up the sleeping bag that happened to be right next to him and pulled a length of bandages out of it. Your build is actually more similar to mine. For the upcoming sports festival, I want you to try using my capturing techniques in battle style. He then pulled out a stack of CDs. These are the films of me fighting villains, by themselves and in large groups. Watch them and try to replicate my fighting. It may suit you more. Videos of Eraserhead fighting. How? I've never seen any kinds of videos on the internet. Not even from security cameras. Shoyuta smiled, of course not. The CDs that were in those security cameras are right here. He gestured to the stack. Aizawa-sensei. Isn't that illegal? Don't question it, just take these things. He shoved the items into Izuku's hands, and start training. I believe Uraraka is waiting for you. Yes, sir. Izuku turned to leave the room. Aizawa-sensei? What? He had already gotten into his sleeping bag. Why are you helping me so much? I didn't see you doing this for other students. Shadow looked at him with a bored expression. Let's just say, you annoy me. Dash. You ran off to fight the strongest villain without a proper plan, you nearly drove yourself insane attempting to fight it, and you nearly killed yourself by using a bastardized version of All Might's fighting. Izuku flinched, but what I hate about that is, seeing one of my students wasting all of their potential by trying to copy that media-obsessed idiot. Potential? Hurry up and go, I'm going back to sleep. He turned over in his sleeping bag. Izuku stared in wonder at the scruffy man in the yellow sleeping bag. Thank you very much. I'll do my best to live up to your expectations. Good. Back at the sports festival. Izuku held onto the bandages wrapped around his neck. All Might and Aizawa-sensei are both supporting me. I can't let either of them down. Indiscriminate shock. Izuku heard Denki's trademark attack and immediately dived in a hole that Yayozoro had made, converting dirt into a grappling hook. Ako. He heard most all of the other students yell as Denki's electricity zapped them. Yeesh, I took out a lot. Denki said as he began jogging towards the hole Bakugo made. A student whose skin was made out of rubber swung his fist at him. What the dash? Kaminari-san. Izuku yelled as he launched the end of his bandage and pulled it back towards him with his quirk. He then pulled Denki away from the attack, the rubber fist stretching by his face harmlessly. Whoa! Those are your moves, Eraserhead. Present Mike began screaming. Did you have a secret shield? I did not. Eraserhead said bluntly, he's one of my students and he is trying out different fighting styles to make his own. Well, you're no fun. Any girl who wants to try dating Eraserhead, go to the email Keshigomu Atama. He likes strong woman whose CA-present mix voice was silenced. Taking present mix place as MC, we have Principal Nedzu. Thank you for taking time off of your busy schedule to announce for these first years. That was the most Shoyuta had said all day. No problem. I'm quite excited to see the strength and will of our youngest students. Nedzu said happily. Yes. Well, it appears that the ice wall that Shudo Todoroki from Class 1 is set up is now completely breached, with all of the students escaping through the hole Katsuki Bakugo from Class 1A made with his explosions. As the MCs had a casual conversation, chaos ensued in the stadium. We need to get out of here. Izuku yelled at Denki. The two of them were the only ones of their class left. There was a chance Tura was also with them again, but if she was probably lying on the ground knocked out from Denki's attack. Yeah, but what are we supposed to do? Denki had a nosebleed. Just Izuku's plan was interrupted by another student flying past him. You know what, just run for the start line. Ochako fell to the ground holding back her vomit. She had been using her quirk quite a bit to jump over a lot of the competition, but even with all of the training she did with Izuku, she wasn't able to go very far without her hero costume's anti-nausea features. Ako. She watched as Izuku and Denki came running towards her at a high speed. Behind them was what appeared to be a large black bull. What? Ochako got up, completely forgetting her nausea, and ran. What the heck is that? Some kid from Class 1D. Denki responded, his just suddenly transformed into a bull and started chasing us. Denki was suddenly knocked out of the way by the ground beneath him, shooting him into the air. Kaminari-san. Izuku yelled. The ground started rumbling at his feet. Ochako dived into him, knocking him out of the way before the earth formed a platform that nearly sent him after Denki. The bull ran headfirst into the rock wall, falling down unconscious. Ochako quickly moved away from her position on top of Izuku and scanned the area. The other classes were making it past Shuda's ice wall and coming fast. The earth manipulated was knocking back anyone to close, but she still hadn't noticed them. Deku-kun. She turned to him with a fire in her eyes. Let's team up. The people in the lead have made it to the first barrier, haven't they? Principal Nezu spun happily in his chair. Yes, Shudo Todoroki, Katsuki Bakugo, Tenya Ida, Minoru Mineta, and Momo Yayazora are all rapidly approaching Robot Inferno, the first real challenge. What do you think of this challenge, Eraserhead? Well, if I were to be frank, I dislike it. Why? It hardly allows people to test heroic qualities. People with stealth, hypnotic, or supporting abilities can't shine here, even though they would make excellent heroes. Very well said. It would be much more logical to have the students do a battle royal or create specialized missions for them. If I were put into the current exam when I was a student, I wouldn't have passed. Right, you were a student when Yui was still pretty small, right? We couldn't afford robots back then. Restrictions force adaptation. Yui was smarter back then. You do realize you are talking to the principal right now. Sorry. Shoyuta apologized quietly. Well, setting that aside, the students of Class B are catching up quickly. They appear to be supporting each other as they run to catch up with the people in the lead. It's completely allowed, but it appears that Class 1A is slowing down from fighting each other. Class 1B will catch up in no time dash. In first place, number 13's voice cut through their commentary. Izuku Midoriya and Ochako Uraraka. Huh? The entire audience, though, simultaneously. Several minutes earlier. Uraraka-san, are you sure you can do this? Izuku asked nervously. He was standing to the side of the main chaos, while giving Ochako a piggyback ride. Yup. I've held up way more than this. But aren't you gonna be nauseous? Don't worry, as long as you go quickly I'll be fine. Ochako raised one fist in the air. Go. Team Ochako. Fine. Izuku agreed, not wanting to get into an argument over the team name. He kicked off the ground, Ochako Worthless Quirk, making them both weightless. He aimed his quirk at the zero-pointer robots in the distance, getting a small migraine from overextending his quirk's distance limits. He and Ochako rocketed towards the robot and landed on its head. Hurry. Ochako egged him on. We need to make it to the end. Alright. Izuku jumped again, narrowly avoiding the zero-pointer's fist. He once again propelled them towards over a network of ropes strung over a huge chasm. Alight. We're in the lead. Izuku made another jump and flew over a minefield. Isn't this a bit too easy? No way. Ochako yelled. They obviously have some more tricks waiting around the corner. If you say so. Izuku said slowly as he jogged through the tunnel behind the minefield. Huh? Midoriya and Uraraka? Number 13 looked at them in surprise. Ah. Number 13. Ochako said happily, where do we go now? Number 13 looked around nervously, not expecting anyone to arrive for another few minutes. Just go line up over by the big screen. Izuku began to set Ochako back on the ground. Wait. Ochako held onto Izuku tighter, choking him in the process. I don't want to get down. This is fun. You Uraraka-san. Aren't you a little Emba dash? Forward Deku Kun. In first place, Izuku Midoriya and Ochako Uraraka. Several minutes later. Are you All Might? Ochako asked. What? How did you get the answer in 3 questions? Izuku asked in shock. They were sitting on the grassy field, playing 20 questions while waiting for the rest of the students to finish the race. You're a pretty big fanboy, aren't you? Deku. You bastard. How dare you sneak ahead of me like that? Katsuki Bakugo comes in 3rd place, closely followed by Shudo Todoroki in 4th place. Nezu announced in his cheerful voice. Kaken. Izuku and Ochako looked up in surprise. You two round face. Quit calling me that. Curses. Tenya yelled passionately as he came in 7th place, behind Momo and Sayui who had surpassed him in the second obstacle. He walked up to the two victors. Congratulations for getting 1st place. I am quite impressed with your quick and mutual victory. Ah. Thank you. Izuku scratched the back of his neck, though. We didn't realize we made it to the finish line until number 13 made the announcement. Ochako flashed Tenya a peace sign. Oh yeah, good job on getting 7th. Top 10 is pretty high. I merely used the route the Todoroki-kun left over the minefield. If he hadn't made it, I'm sure I would have gotten a worse score. I must train to get even stronger. Good luck. Ochako cheered him on. Now if you'll excuse me. Tenya went to take his place in line. Over the next few minutes, the rest of the students trickled in, including all of A and B class, along with a handful of other students. Theoretically, I could write a long list of around 40 students to tell you who passed. But do you guys really want a list like that? All you really need to know is, Class 1A all made it. Congratulations to the top 42 students who made it. You will all be passing into the next round. Everyone clapped for the lucky 42. Our next game will be Cavalry Battles. Number 13 pointed to the large screen which depicted Principal Nedza sitting on top of Eraserhead, Present Mike, and All Might. This is a team exercise. You will break into groups and form a horse. The leader of your horse will be wearing a headband that has the combined value of all of your team written on it. The goal of this game is to steal and protect the headbands. The top 4 teams will pass on into the finals. The screen shifted to the names of all of the players who had passed with point values next to their name. You have all been given points based on your performance during the race. It is not based on ranking but on how you did. Izuku scanned the list looking for his name, certain he would be around the bottom since he didn't do anything. Deku-kun. Ochako pulled at his sleeve and pointed towards the top of the list. Also, since this is the first time we've had 2 people team up and come in first together, Izuku Midoriya and Ochako Uraraka have been given the combined value of dash 1 million points. Izuku screamed in horror when he found what Ochako was pointing at. Right at the very top it read, Izuoka, 1 million points. Why did they write our names together? Ochako asked innocently. Izuku was one step away from fainting. He noticed that he was feeling thirsty, probably dehydration from all of the nervous sweat that was covering his forehead and palms. His eyelids wouldn't do their job as his eyes were burning the sight into his mind. He may have blushed if he had time to worry about the fact that the UE teachers used a ship name for him in the rankings, but he was far too busy running all of the worst-case scenarios through his head. In the upcoming battle, he and Ochako would have more points than all of the other teams combined. This meant they were the largest target, and that everyone would be aiming at their points. Well, there's always next year. He thought happily to himself. Deku-kun. Izuoka doesn't refer to us, right? Ochako asked in a fearful tone, starting to comprehend their situation. Well. Izuku glanced around. The eyes of the other students were like wild wolves, hungry, savage, and prepared to strike. No. The other students were quickly forming hunting packs and formulating plans to steal the top score. Ochako paled and looked at the fierce gazes that the other students directed at her. I'm sure that everything will be all right, Izuku said with fake confidence. Now everyone, you have the next 10 minutes to form your team. And also, since they worked together so well in the last game, Izuku Midoriya and Ochako Uraraka must be on the same team. Number 13's last announcement left Izuku staring at the teachers in shock. It was like they were forcing them together. Unbeknownst to him, there was actually a bid that All Might, Midnight, and a few other teachers were running about which students would start dating. So his circumstances were actually all because of people trying to make their OTP a reality. Deku-kun. Would you like to dash? I apologize, Midoriya-kun. Tenya cut him off, but I will be joining a different group. Kaminari-kun, wow dash. Sorry man. I'm already in a team with someone else. Ujiro dash. Sorry. Izuku saw his chances dwindling as his classmates turned him down, one by one. Any luck? Ochako asked. Nope. How about you? None of the girls wanted to be on a team with such a big target sign. That makes sense. One more minute. Number 13 announced. Alright, let's think of a plan. Welcome back everybody. Present Mike waved to the audience excitedly. Nedzu had left to prepare for the third year's festival and Present Mike had regained conciseness during the intermission. We now will begin the cavalry battle. Any comments, Eraserhead? There are a couple teams you should keep an eye on. Which ones? Team Bakugo looks like a threat. All four of them are my students and while he might be short-tempered and volatile, Bakugo is still a smart kid. Kirishima can handle the force of his explosions, Ashido can provide extra defense and mobility, while Shuji's quirk is the strongest. Sensor out there, he can monitor the entire battlefield at the same time, making him a valuable addition to any group. Not to mention, the four of them are probably the most athletic students in my class. Very good commentary. Present Mike studied the group of students, but I think you should also keep a wary eye on Team Monoma. HM. Monoma, Rin, Tsurubara, Shiozaki, well, even though Class 1B hasn't used their quirks, I know what they are from UE folders, though, I'm not sure how skilled they are. They might not have been a part of the villain attack, but they are still a hero class of UE. They're nothing to be scoffed at. Well, it looks like their entire operation works on how well Monoma can preform. Also, take a look at that team. Team Aways. It is a beautiful bridge over the gap between the two hero classes. Present Mix's eyes were filling with tears. Let's see, Aways, Tetsu, Kaminari, and Yayorozu. Oh, that is a very good team. And it seems to be well thought out. Eraserhead looked at the rest of the teams. There is also Team Hagakure. Hagakure, Ida, Hatsum, and Todoroki. Oh. Todoroki is on the ground? Of course he is standing on the right side so that he can properly attack and defend with his ice. If he were at the top he wouldn't be able to reach the ground, it would honestly be pretty dumb for him not to be on the ground. But why is Hagakure the captain? There are two battles the students need to win, the cavalry battle, and the audience-grabbing battle. What? You see. Even if you get first place, it doesn't matter if you didn't show off your quirk, you need to look good as possible to get an internship. Oh, I see. And it works in vice versa. If you look bad, there is little to no chance of your getting a legitimate internship offer. That doesn't dash. Look at the other teams. Present Mike followed Eraserhead's instructions, most of them have boys as their captain. The captain has the easiest time reaching for the headband, and what would happen if they were to miss the headband? Ah. They could get labeled as a pervert. Exactly, Hagakure opted to not wear a shirt, so obviously she knows too. Some of the guys won't have enough courage to try to steal their headband, or else they would run the risk of getting any internship offers. Though I can see one of the teams going for it. Present Mike pointed to Team Mineta. Mineta, Azui, and Tokoyami. They are definitely one of the stranger team combinations. Fumikage had his hands on Suyu's shoulders and Minoru was sitting above them on top of Dark Shadow. He was staring lecherously at the shirtless, invisible girl, obviously trying to erase her quirk. Can we disqualify him? Present Mike asked. I wish. Eraserhead. Is that team legal? Present Mike asked, pointing to another team. Yes. Your team can do anything as long as the captain doesn't touch the ground and the horse doesn't fall apart. Eraserhead sounded like he was ready to take a nap. But, their horse is only one person. So? There are disadvantages to a team like that. Like what? Eraserhead decided to act upon his desire to take a nap and fell sound asleep. He also didn't feel the need to explain why the captains were allowed to jump off of their horses, but that information is not that important. Walking onto the field was Ochako, but this time, Izuku was the one sitting on her shoulders. Start. Die. Izuku pushed off of Ochako's shoulders as Katsuki made a preemptive strike at their team. Their team being the two of them. Ha! Even Katsuki's huh sounded angry. Izuku flew over the chaotic cavalry battle, reorienting himself with which way was up and which way was down. Deku-kun! Look out! He turned and saw a furious Katsuki Bakugo flying towards him with explosive speeds. Ah! Izuku screamed, waving his hands around crazily, not prepared to dodge the attack. He suddenly felt a lurching sensation in his stomach as Ochako released her quirk. He fell, narrowly avoiding Katsuki's right hand, and landed right in Ochako's arms. Oof! Ochako strained against the force from Izuku's fall and, with the help of her reactivated quirk, kept him off the ground. Uraraka-san! Without gravity holding him down, Izuku easily moved from Ochako's arms onto her shoulders. We need to stop Kaken. He's the only one who can outmaneuver me when I'm in the air. Right. Ochako scanned the crowd and saw where Katsuki landed. I can help. You just need to get his attention. Ha ha ha. Mineta laughed evilly as he flew towards Turo. You're the one who took off your shirt. So anything that happens is entirely your own fault. He was stopped abruptly by a wall of ice springing out of Toro's horse. Thanks, Todoroki. Turo said cheerfully. I was merely defending the headband, was Shuto's brief response. I don't think he was heading for the headband. Tenya said slowly. Mineta! Fumikage yelled at the pervert who was sliding off of the ice wall. Jero! Tsuyu jumped towards him and wrapped her tongue around his abdomen. What is this? Present Mike yelled, looking at their team layout. Fumikage was standing back while Dark Shadow reached out to hold onto Tsuyu's shoulders. Come on, Eraserhead. That team can't be legal. It's fine, Dark Shadow counts as an extension of Tokoyami's body. As long as the horse is still assembled, they are still in. HUP. Dark Shadow suddenly retracted, pulling back Tsuyu and Minoru as well. Oh. And now we have an ambush from Team Kaminari. Present Mike announced. What? Tetsu yelled in outrage, and oh. This is not an ambush. Ambushes are not manl. He was forced to stop mid-sentence to defend himself from Tsuyu's tongue. Team Mineta had reformed and was in attack mode once more. Bakugo. You need to give us more warning when you're about to jump. Ijiru yelled at his captain. Shut up, hair for brains. Katsuki yelled, why do you think Masked Freak is on this team? Masked Freak? Mina asked, isn't that kind of rude? I don't mind all that much. Mezu spoke through the mouth next to Mina. Their team layout was with Ijiru in the front and Mina in the back with Mezu. I've been called much more insulting names than Masked Freak. His mouth next to Katsuki spoke up. Midoriya has jumped again. Alright, I'll definitely crush him this time. Mezu's warning was unheard as he launched himself towards the nervous fanboy floating in the air. Darn it! Ashido, Karashima. His two teammates turned to him. We need to move. What for? We need to catch Bakugo when he falls back down. No. We need to run. Mezu began pushing their group into the battlefield. Uraraka is coming. Surely enough, their gravity-nullifying classmate was running towards them at top speeds with her hand outstretched. Move! Mina yelled, spurring Ijiru into action. I won't let you get away. Ochako yelled. Ashido! Ijiru yelled, their three people couldn't outmaneuver Ochako by herself, do something. Mine and Shuji's quirks are both physical. If she touches any of you, our horse is gonna fall apart. What? Do you want me to do? Mina yelled back. Use your acid or something. Ijiru suggested. What? Of course I won't do that. Ochako is my friend. You're just like Mineta. Wanting me to dissolve a girl's clothes in public. What? Of course not. That's not MANLO. Ijiru felt his body lose all of its weight as Ochako's hand finally made contact with his arm. She then grabbed his shirt and tried throwing him. Mezo held onto his shoulder tightly. Oh! Bakugo has stolen the 1 million point headband. Now the question is, will he make it back to his horse? Ochako saw a burnt figure flying towards the ground at rapid speeds. Deku-kun. Izuku stared up at the sky through a haze. It seemed like he was falling, but he felt light for some reason. The sky was so nice, it was a beautiful blue color. The only thing ruining the serenity of the moment was the strange ringing in his ears. Izuku! 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 He snapped out of his trance and noticed he was being held by Ochako. Oh, Ochako? He asked, unsure of his own voice. Did he get it? Did Kaken get the headband? Izuku's hand shot to his forehead where the 1 million point cloth was missing. It's gone. He said slowly, we need to get it back. No. Ochako immediately rejected his plan, we need to choose smaller target. But we don't know how the points were distributed. And we need to get them before the time limit. And we can hardly take on the stronger teams, just the two of us. I may a dash. Izuku. Ochako called him back to his senses, using his real name instead of his nickname. Most of the points will migrate towards the strongest teams, we just need to get behind them and then you can grab one of their headbands. Alright then. Let's hit Team Aways. Izuku said after calmly assessing the chaos that was the cavalry battle. Roger. Tsuyu and Fumikage stared at the headband, floating just out of their reach. They had regrouped so that Fumikage's and Tsuyu's hands were holding Minoru's feet, but even with Dark Shadow, they could not make it to the headband. Come on. Is this all that Class 1A can do? The owner of the headband taunted. Nito Monoma sat atop Hiriorin, Scales, Ibarashiyazaki, Vines, and Kozai Tsurupara, Solid Air. Go Dark Shadow! Fumikage yelled. I.O. Dark Shadow swung its clawed hand at the Class 1B team but was once again blocked by Nito and Kozai breathing out a solid wall of air in front of them. Come on! Neat continued taunting, you have to be able to do more than that. Minoru grimaced angrily. Looks like all of the pro heroes will be looking at Class 1B. I wonder how many fan letters we'll get. Fan letters? Minoru asked. Yeah. Not like you'll be getting any. Fan letters come from fangirls. Tokoyami? Yes? Fumikage responded. Will I get fangirls who will do anything I ask if we win this? Most likely Tsuyu was cut off. Definitely. Fumikage's response was brief and confident, the more you win, the more fangirls will come swarming to you. Really? Dark Shadow covered Tsuyu's mouth. Yes, absolutely. Minoru turned envious bloodshot eyes upon Team Monoma, I'm gonna borrow that headband. Nito's question went ignored as Minoru grabbed 2 balls off of his head and jumped at the air wall. Continuously grabbing balls from his head, he began climbing up the wall at a speed comparable to a spider infused with cheetah DNA. Raph! He leapt over the wall. Shoot! Nito's hair turned green and grew out into vines. Minoru didn't even pause as he roughly bit through the vines blocking his way. Now! Tsuyu yelled as she shot her tongue at the air wall. The combined force of Tsuyu's tongue and Dark Shadow's claw was strong enough to break through Kozai's wall, since Nito was using Ibara's quirk instead. Minoru's pop-off balls went flying along with the shattered air and stuck themselves on the 4 members of Team Monoma. Darn it! Hirio's scales came up 1 second too slow as he got covered by the pop-off balls. Fangirls! While Minoru's war cry wasn't very heroic, it did the job. He ripped the headband off of Nito's head and laughed evilly. We must leave now. Fumikage yelled. Dark Shadow grabbed the midget pervert and Team Mineta ran away at top speed. Curse you Class 1A. Nito spat out furiously. That was nothing. Tetsu yelled angrily. He then proceeded to punch the red-haired student in front of him with all of his might. You call that a punch? Ijiru yelled back, his face slightly cracked where Tetsu had hit him. The two continued their fist fight as Katsuki and Yosetsu Uwais were staring at each other waiting for the other to move. Katsuki had already attacked, but Momo's creation quirk was too fast for him to get a hit in. Katsuki held his hands up in a ready position. Yosetsu's regular bandana was exchanged for several others that had varying numbers on them. Guh. Tetsu winced as Ijiru's attack broke his skin out of its steel mode, metal fatigue. Here. Momo handed him a bar of metal. He shoved it in his mouth and blocked another attack from Ijiru. That's tungsten made with a steel alloy. It should be more refined and stronger than the normal steel you eat. Thanks for the meal, Yayazoro-san. Tetsu grinned as a metal coat spread over his boy. It was very delicious. Ah. Getting help in a one-on-one fight isn't manly at all. Ijiru argued. But it is manly to accept food when given to you. Tetsu backed up his counter-argument by shaping his now tungsten-enforced arms into blades and slicing down at Ijiru. Ijiru's hardening was hardly strong enough to hold the blades back. They sliced into his skin, stopping before they reached anything major, but leaving two very nasty paper cuts. Good fight. Ijiru said as he fell, his body still floating from Ochako's attack. Meza grew several extra arms to keep him from floating away. There. Izuku came out of nowhere, flying over Yosetsu's team with Aizawa's bandages trailing behind him. The headband. Momo yelled. It was too late. Izuku grabbed the headband and pulled it off of Yosetsu's forehead. Kaminari-san. Now. Yosetsu yelled. You got it. Denki grinned, sorry about this, Izuku. Gripped in his hand were copper wires that Momo had created. It led to a metal disc that was welded, with Yosetsu's quirk, to their headbands. He selected the one that led to the cloth dangling in Izuku's hand. Now, this is a good part to point out how Denki's quirk, most likely there are organs that can produce electricity, for example a human's brain, heart, or eye, heck even the skin of a frog. Think about that froppy. It is probable that Denki Kaminari's body has a special organ called a bioelectrical organ. This organ is a system of tissues specialized for the production and use of electrical power in a living organism. There are over 200 fish species with this organ, but the most commonly known would be the electric eel. Sometimes referred to as the Electrophorus electricus, the electric eel has 3 pairs of electric organs, and with them, it is able to generate a shock of 600 to 1000 volts. Denki probably has a similar organ in his hands, or possibly on his temple, but, if his special move indiscriminate 1,300,000 volts was scientifically accurate, anyone hit by it would be dead. So, if we were to assume that the electric eel's 1000-volt shock is the limit, Denki's shock would still be enough to stun someone. As a side note, the electric eel can use its bioelectricity to locate other fish. Do you think Denki can do that? Izuku reacted too late. Volts of electricity coursed through his body. His muscles spazzed, but he did not let go. Suddenly the bandage that was trailing behind him was pulled taut and he flew back to Ochako, who was holding the other end. Good job, Deku-kun. Ochako said as the copper wire was torn out of Denki's grasp. We should be able to make it into the next round with these points. Izuku smiled at her, still rattled from the shock. Instead, why don't you hand those points to me? A voice asked behind them. Izuku glared. Why would we do? Izuku stopped speaking and froze. His eyes widened and his mind went blank. And that is the end. Present Mike yelled happily, let's view the winning teams. Eraserhead, how about you start? Fine. In first place we have Team Bakugu. They were the clear victors who managed to steal the 1 million point headband early in the game and hold on to it for the rest of the time. Yeah. In your face, Deku. The volume of Katsuki's voice was equal to Eraserhead's commentary. And in second. Present Mike continued, we've got Team Hagakure. I'm number 1. Not you Deku. Katsuki's voice continued to echo through the stadium. Present Mike ignored the victory cries, and in third we have Team Mineta. I'm above you. You're nothing but a pebble. And in fourth we ha dash. A pebble. Team Shinso,